Episode 17 of the Wedding Fitness podcast. I'm absolutely delighted sitting here on Zoom looking at two lovely faces. One of Gavin Conder. Say hi, Gavin.
Hey.
There's Gavin. We're going to have a chat with Gavin tonight. And also the other being Rob Watt. Say hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob. Very good. This is the level of humour I enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
You've obviously listened to a few of the other podcasts. Thank you very much. Let's start with Rob then. So, Rob, just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. Yeah, go for it.
So my name's Rob Watt. I'm the artistic director of Theatre Centre. So I'm a director, and Theatre Centres have been around for about 70 years. I hasten to add, haven't been around with Theatre Centre for 70 years. Very good moisturiser. I've been there for about a year, and we make work with and for young people, and we tour into schools and we tour into venues, and we make work that well, we can talk. I'll talk loads about, I'm sure, the work, but we tour across the country with shows. Our current show is talking about sex education and how complicated and ridiculous and bad it is in school.
Okay, cool. All right, nice one. And Gavin, what about you? What do you do? Why are you here? Well, I know why you're here. I invited you, but what do you do?
Yeah, I'm mentally disturbed, mate. That's why I'm here, man. No, I am. Well, yeah, but I make music. Really, I'm a musician, singer, producer. Do sessions, part of different bands, just general creative. Really, I just head towards creativity, and that is in many different ways. I mean, yeah, mainly with my wife, different blues bands, but recently permaculture and garden and building, natural building.
Right, cool. And that's how you've managed to make ends meet, I presume, over the last, was it a year that we've been doing all this crazy stuff?
Some of it, yeah, a little mixture of that, a little mixture of home sessions, because I built the studio as well, so it's like just in time for the lockdown, really.
Right.
So I've had a few sessions coming through here as well, making a bit of cash, jingles and stuff like that.
Nice. Whereabouts are you based, Gavin?
Based in Bedfordshire.
Okay, cool. Very nice. All right. Well, look, I think what I tend to try to do with the podcast is to start with a bit of a question that's centered around me. And I mentioned this to Rob, but I don't think I mentioned it to you, Gavin. So Rob has a bit of an advantage in that he kind of probably has an answer already written down. Look, he's looking down at his notes. I can see him. He's prepared. Looking through. He knows what's coming. So, Gavin, the question that I sort of asked back in a podcast many moons ago was, what's your relationship like with food? Because for me, this podcast is predominantly... my sort of place is to do with food and my weight loss and things like that. So I quite like to open up that question to all of the guests that come on here as well, because one of the things I've learned prior to starting this and just as I started my weight loss journey was the fact that we all have, different relationships, some good, some bad. Some people don't really give a shit about it at all, and they just see it as a thing that they do. Some people really analyze everything they eat. So I'd be curious to know what your relationship is like with food, Rob. And I'll put you first because you probably have a bit of an idea, and that might give Gavin a bit of time to think as well.
I love food. I've always loved food. I've like it, and it's not something that it's not like I've got mates who just eat because they have to, right? They've like it's just the thing that they do. It's the fuel that they have. For me. Yeah. I remember even when I was young, I was really adventurous. I would eat everything and anything. I remember going when I was on holiday in Spain, I think it was, and I was about 9 or 10 and was eating octopus, which freaks the hell. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even eat that now.
That's I don't think I could go there, mate. I mean,
oh no, I don't think I've eaten it since, but I tried it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I love food. I love going out and eating food, and I love a lot of my life, I think, is centered around it. And I was just saying to you, Tom, that I've always been quite lucky to be. My metabolism's been quite high, so I've been quite skinny a lot of my life, and then I've hit 40s, and now my metabolism has gone.
Gotta catch up with you now.
I now can't be bothered. Whatever. So I'm
getting one of those little bellies, the little pop bellies.
Well, yeah, little. I mean, it's sort of. it looks like I'm pregnant, which is so I've had to, I'm having to sort of think about the type of foods that I eat more often, but that doesn't stop me enjoying loads of it.
So what have you had to change? I mean, because you've noticed that your metabolism slowed down, and I guess that means that your weight is going up probably easier than you found. Well, not that you found it easier than it has done before.
Yeah.
What are you now more conscious of, though?
Well, just more like I love crisps, and that's and that I'm quite that would be my go-to snack.
Right. What's your go-to crisp? Let's do that. Let's torture everyone listening.
I mean, I just love a plain salty crisp. Like that's I know I'm not like from octopus to ready salties. I'm complex, right? And what are they, like kettle chips?
Okay,
like really crispy,
nice and
chips.
Greasy. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
The bottom of the bag is the best bit, isn't it? You come out and you're like, there's a whole bottle of olive oil on my hands. Yeah. Okay, all right. It's not that sort of podcast where we then start reviewing crisps, but so that you're kind of having to rein that in a little bit, are you? You can't be quite so frivolous.
Yeah. And what my partner and I have done now is that we've actually cut out meat for about 4 days of the week.
Right. Okay.
So we've sort of eaten vegetables a lot more, which I think I don't think I could ever become a vegetarian, but there's sort of, we've thought about it environmentally, but also I think for our health as well. Yeah. And also then on a Saturday when I have a steak, I'm like really enjoying that steak.
Yeah, bosh it right back. Yeah.
Exactly.
You deserve that. It's funny
I've had lentils all week.
Yeah, no, don't do the lentils. My wife's a vegetarian, but she eats chicken as well. And it's really funny because in my household, I follow the sort of Slimming World plan, and I find it really useful to help me sort of rein in what I've been eating and how I eat. And what's really good about it is that for all of our family, the meals that you get loads of recipes and stuff on the app and bits, and those are really kid friendly as well, and they're really healthy for them. There's nothing faddy about it. But maybe 2 or 3 months ago, Jane was like, my wife was like, it'd be really good to introduce the boys to, a variety of meat. We eat a lot of chicken and maybe some turkey. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, look, I'm going to go to the butcher's. I'm going to buy some beef. I'd not had beef in ages. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went to the butcher's, and I kid you not, it's the first time I'd ever been to a butcher's and bought beef. I didn't know what I was buying. I just went, I'd like some beef, but I've got kids and I don't know what to do. And he said, well, what you want, son, is this. So he gave me this joint of beef, anyway, cooked it up, did the whole squeegee over the top, made it all moist and gorgeous and like black pepper. And oh my God, it looked good. Cut it, carved it. It was a big song and dance, but kids put it in their mouth. Don't like that. Oh, no. All that effort. I was like, that cost 12 quid. So now we're back on the veg. But it's funny that you should mention about trying the octopus, because one of the things that I'm trying to encourage my oldest child to do is to be open to the fact of trying new things. I think it's really important. And so he loves olives, but he's tried olives, and I've encouraged him. He likes olives. That's good. And one thing I can't stand is fish. So when you mentioned octopus earlier, I was like, yeah, well, definitely not. And I remember before lockdown being out with my in-laws, my wife and the boys, and my mother-in-law had salmon, smoked salmon for a breakfast. I mean, it's not my thing. I was like, Rufus, do you want to try some smoked salmon? And Jane doesn't like it either. And he was like, no, I don't want to. I said, well, look, I'll try some. If let's try it together. Let's experiment with it. So he tried it. He was fine. I tried it. It was absolutely fucking foul. And it made me feel sick for days. So it kind of backfired on me. But yeah, sorry. It just is a story that I wanted to share right there.
The art of negotiation.
Yeah, I'll do it if you do it. And I'm sure other parents probably wouldn't actually do it. They'd sort of like miss their mouth. But Muggins here did it. And then, oh man, I felt rough. But,
I've just reminded from octopus. I got a chance to go to China many years ago, and I
could go anywhere, couldn't it?
Well, I mean, it wasn't dog, but it was. But I ate scorpion over there.
Wow.
So deep fried scorpion, which was weird. And then there was a variety of. It was over with the British Council, so we used to go and we used to get all these banquets of things, and there were foodstuffs there that I just didn't even. I don't know what I was eating at all. It was really quite odd. The weirdest was jellyfish. It was both Tom's face like what? It was both sort of like squidgy and brittle at the same time.
Wow. And how was that cooked though?
Oh, I mean, I didn't. I don't know.
Because I mean, it already looks a bit like a poached egg anyway. So
Yeah. Well, it was. Yeah, I don't know, but it was certainly experience.
Yeah.
Not what I necessarily want to repeat.
I wonder what nutrition it has.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I might Google that. Not right now, but I'm going to Google it at the end. Jellyfish. Maybe it's some sort of sensational diet. Maybe we've just stumbled across the next like jellyfish diet.
Maybe it's so gross that you just don't eat it.
You will lose stones and stones. Oh, that's cool. Well, listen, Gavin, what about you, mate? What's the situation for you, dude?
Me, man. I mean, I used to. What's the term? Eat to live. Is that the one where you just take it and then carry on? And just over time, with my wife is just a godsend in all that side of thing. I used to eat like a block of cheese out of the fridge, and that's doing me. I'm off. That's it. I can go another 24 hours. Done. Wicked, lovely. But then just over time, she's kind of educated me with food, and now I'm interested in being good to myself. So I'm way out there talking about all these animals and that, but I'm like a gluten-free vegan. So it's
all right.
Just air and dust, my friend.
Yeah. So where do you think the whole sort of what did you say it was eat to live thing came from for you? Was it just because it was convenient to be like that, or is that something that came from younger years? Or
man, I just cared about living. I was just cared about just out there doing shit.
Yeah.
Just like where's the vibe? Where's the fun? Where are we going? What are we doing? Time's short. Let's have a go. And eating just seemed like a waste of time to me. This is like sit around and eat food when I could be doing something. I just had a lot of energy, man.
Yeah.
And I still do. I have to get rid of my energy. Like this, the punch bag. I have to get rid of it because if I don't, it comes in other ways. So I have to change it and put it.
Do you? So like you say, you're gluten free and vegan?
Vegan, gluten free. Yeah.
Yeah. So what can you eat?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's loads, man. The good thing about doing that is you become really good at cooking, and you actually start to like have an interest in food because you have to understand where all your nutrients are coming from, or your proteins are coming from. So you start to get really good at cooking.
Right.
I mean, you can eat. I mean, I just eat plants, mate. To be honest.
I didn't mean it quite as dismissively as it sounded. Like, oh, what can you eat? Because one of our previous guests, he's been on a couple of times, Elliot. He's vegan, and it sounds fascinating. But I think at the minute with my boys, I think it's something that I might just maybe do that a little bit later on down the line. But I remember having what did I have? Vegan chicken. Well, not chicken, but vegan fajitas. And with jackfruit, that's the thing, isn't it? Jackfruit.
Yeah, jackfruit.
It tasted wicked. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. It's a weird old plant, but it's tasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of madness that you've gone from eating just for living to like veganism and gluten free, which means that you've got to really think about what you're eating, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, originally I went vegan because my wife went vegan, so it's like, okay, easy life. I'll just eat what you're eating. That's cool, And then I got into it, and then the health benefits were like off the scale, and then I ended up more energy, more focused. Everything was clearer. I wasn't going to the dark place so often, And then I coupled that with she went gluten free, so I was like, okay, let's do that. I'll go gluten free.
And have you noticed a change since doing that as well?
Yeah, amazing.
Really?
Yeah, like in the belly,
really?
Everything to do with the belly, and I haven't been ill. Well, probably I had COVID, but. Apart from that, I haven't been ill.
That old thing.
I don't even go there, mate.
Oh, mate.
I'm sure it will, but it's I can't highly recommend it if you want to take care of yourself and look after your body and feel amazing. It's in that side. You couple with that with exercise and meditation and yoga, and you put all the bundle together.
Yeah,
you
definitely tend to.
Yeah.
Wow, sounds good, man. You see, you've got a lot of good processes that you go through. So you box. You're talking. I can see you got a punch bag behind you. Boxing.
It's not really boxing. I just punch the shit out of it so I can get rid of the anger. Really. I wouldn't say there's any skill in there, mate. I just kind of fucking go rampage on it. Start smashing it with my elbows and shit. You know what I mean?
And I notice it's in the studio, so it's obviously positioned in a place where like, oh, for fuck's sake!
especially when recording, mate.
Yeah, it's bloody bit late.
Yeah, especially doing some of these shithole sessions you end up doing. It's like, fucking shit, son. You know what I mean? Fucking have that, mate. You know what I mean? Like kicking the shit, come back like.
Is it one of those? Is it a rebound? Does it rebound or is it hung? Because I can't really.
Yeah, it's like an MMA. So you can like grab the handles, kick the shit out of it, jump on it on the floor, start pummeling it. You know, nice. you can really go to town, man.
Very good. Well, maybe we'll have a quick run through of that in the break if we need it. when we have our comfort break and I come back from the toilet, I'll just see you smashing the crap out of it.
Yeah, it's helpful when you're having an argument. You know, just before an argument begins, you can feel it. You can sense it, like the energy's changing. You're like, darling, I'm just going to go into the studio. You know, I mean,
just got to bounce something down.
Good fuck.
And you come back and you're all zen.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, yeah. There we go. This is Gavin's top tip for relationship management.
Yeah, buy yourself a man cave and punch the shit out of a bag. Yeah.
And what you mentioned yoga, and what other exercising are you doing? What's new to you now, or not so new maybe?
I don't know, mate. I mean, I do a bit of yoga. It's good for the body and the joints. You know, you get older, you got to start taking care of yourself, because you can't just carry on, man. I do a little bit of yoga, a little bit of weights, a little bit of punching, kicking, and sometimes a little bit of Tai Chi. But I like Tai Chi. I want to do that more.
Stuff that you enjoy, by the sounds of it, though.
Spiritual. I'm interested in energy, frequencies, and flow. You know, I'm into all that shit where you kind of align yourself with nature, and then when you go to diet, it's like now I'm just interested in growing the food, and building an off-the-grid house and solar panels, and because I'm also an electrician as well.
Okay.
Did that in a lockdown.
Right.
But I want to build an off-grid house, so I'm getting into like growing food and vegetables and soils.
And that's a plan down the line. Like that's something you guys are gonna head off and do maybe one day.
I would like to. I mean, it's a hell of a thing to ask Jess to do.
Sure.
But yeah, if I can, it's where I'm trying to point towards.
Nice.
So food's turned into nutrition, and what can we grow? What can we get from that? How pure can we get?
It's that cycle, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm deeply dark, man, and always have been. So I always chase towards the light. Being bad, crazy, and dark is really easy to me. So like being decent, healthy, and
How do you find that your music sort of helps you to cope with because you mentioned the dark place a moment ago? So does your music sort of come from that, or I mean, I suppose it could do sometimes, but does it help alleviate that that feeling sometimes for you?
Yeah, it has done in the past. Yeah, it has done. But now I just want to make kind of positive and lighter music.
Yeah, very cool.
But yeah, it does. It really helps. It helps to get it out. I mean, basically, I think music is like it replaces the vibrations. It replaces what you're missing in your body. So whatever you put on, if you're in a happy mood, you put on happy music, and that kind of brings you back to center. Yeah. So by the time that you've enjoyed yourself and finished enjoying yourself to that to that tune, you're in line with nature again, whether you realize it or not.
Well, I believe it. It is a naturally occurring thing, isn't it? I mean, not that it's the same thing, but for me, where we've moved to, early morning, sunshine is literally sort of pouring through our kitchen window, and we're having a lot of building work done, and we've only just been able to sort of go out into our back garden a bit more now. And like early morning, the boys are up at around 6, 7. So I think it's probably not my line in the morning. So nice and early, the boys will be fixed up for their breakfast, and I just love sitting out on the little patio. And you hear all these birds singing, and like there's something about birdsong that just blows my mind. And even what I'm really amazed by is even like my 2-year-old, like he will be doing because those birds are there throughout the day, but they're most prominent at that time for me because there's no other sounds, apart from my kids shouting at Alexa to turn the TV on. But that's the only other sound. And
fresh air as well.
Yeah.
Fresh, clean air.
Man. It's just beautiful. And what fascinates me though is like Felix, he will be out in the garden playing. He'll be really engrossed in his play, and then he'll hear this beautiful bird song, which ordinarily, because of life getting in the way, we might miss. And I love the fact that he just was like, "Oh, bird," and it just it attracts him, and that is song attracting a 2-year-old, and ignore the fact that it's a bird creating that, and we know birds sing. It's a melody. So it is such a natural, powerful thing.
I completely agree with Gavin about vibrations. I lived in London for a long, long time, and that's got its own vibration. There's loads, exactly, and it really, I hadn't quite realised how much it affected me, because I'm the same, Gavin. I really believe in like vibrations and sound wave and energy waves. Yeah. And we moved out of London. I moved out of London about 4 or 5 years ago. We're in the countryside now, and we have the same as you, Tom, where you in the mornings you hear the bird song, and that vibration, the difference in that song and in the frequency and all of those things, I really believe affects me in a really great way, in a positive way. And then sort of thinking back when I was in London and all of that noise, so much noise, and it's like that when a pneumatic drill's on and you don't realize it until it stops, right?
But it's another layer, isn't it? It's another layer in your life, audibly.
Yeah, completely. Completely.
Man, I mean, it goes so deep when it comes to that stuff, because then it starts to it puts you into like in a state of fear, in a state of panic, in a state of worry. So then it adds like other stuff, and there's a whole layer upon layer upon layer. So you never get to that higher wave. You're always kept down in the big sluggish waves underneath. So you never get to that place where like happiness.
In a show that I've used that twice in shows. So I'm a bit of a horror fiend, and there was 2 shows that we did which was sort of quite scary, and we layered really low frequency sub throughout. And so it was
not the brown frequency, was it?
Well, no, it wasn't.
The brown would be horrifying. Layered the brown frequency underneath, man. Just to see, you know what I mean? Just testing.
I wasn't that cruel.
What was the name of the show, Rob? What was the name of the show?
So there was a show called The Exorcism.
Oh, right.
It kind of goes well, really, mate, wouldn't it?
This is
the sound
release,
my friends! Release! Yeah.
And they did, and the review was shit. That's all I'll just say.
You will literally shit yourself.
Exactly.
Very good. Wow.
But it was but the audience had a anything I'm going to say now is just gonna we've just got an image of audience shitting themselves. The was that they felt it before they could hear it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that there's like that's it's such a that again, film and theatre, and their use of music. It's there to. Completely. I studied. It's just I can't even get my words out. I studied media, and I love film and I love film music, and it's just the power of one sound. I think there's something on YouTube with Hans Zimmer and about the Dark Knight. The Batman, one of the Batman films that they created, and the leitmotif for the Joker, what's his name, Heath Ledger played, and like they made that by like scratching razor blades down this cello, and he said I just wanted a sound that was so minute in its volume, but so disturbing at the same time, and obviously it's played whenever Heath is or whenever that character has done something, but it's just horrible, and like you said, it's the power of suggestion, isn't it? And the power of you're going to go and shoot yourself now, son. In the theatre.
I mean, it's also a funny one, that isn't it? Because because it's a razor blade, assuming it would be quite an aggressive sound, but really it's kind of grating a thinner piece of metal on a string. So the thought is even more powerful in that they created this crazy sound.
It's combination. That was what the predominant sound came from, and then of course it was the cello bow as well, and just many layers. It's fascinating.
In that same show, the collaborator I had, he stretched a particular song by about 5,000%. So, and when we played it, it became this most beautiful sort of soundscape, because you sort of stretch this noise into a whole different thing. So the frequencies that you're experiencing over a short period of time, we sort of expanded, and it sort of became this whole different experience.
More enjoyable.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Rob, before we started recording, you mentioned, obviously Theatre Centre is one of the things, the company that you're artistic director, is that right?
It sounds very brand, that, doesn't it?
It does. I would also like to know, just on a slight aside, what is a dramaturg?
Oh God, I've no idea. I mean, it's got the word turd and drama in it, so that's all I'm saying. I'm
Is it
brought the tone
turd?
down.
Is it
No, well,
dramaturg?
no, it's not. It's dramaturg.
Oh,
I
it's just a running theme of this podcast at the moment.
yeah, no, it's terrible. It's just shit.
A runny theme.
A runny theme.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Not very solid. I failed my A levels. I'm trying to pull it back, guys. I'm trying to pull it back. I failed my A levels brilliantly, and I went into clearing. So I was the first person that in my family to go to uni, and so I thought I needed to go to uni, and I failed my A levels. Went into clearing, wanted to go and do some form of theatre. That I knew that, and Leeds Uni gave me this this new course. No one had ever done it in the country, dramaturgy, and I said, well, it's got the word drama in it. Let's see what happens. I won't bore you with it, but essentially it's like the philosophy of theatre. Why is it we do this stuff? Why is it that we tell stories? Why is it that the human condition is programmed for us to explore stories, whether that's through music, whether that's talking, whether that's through film? Why is it that we cling to that? Why do we gossip? And so it was sort of looking at that, and which is why then I then became super interested in story and telling it, and the why that's useful.
Yeah, and by the sounds of what Theatre Centre do, I mean, you're predominantly, you work a lot with it, with educational establishments, you're working with schools and young people an awful lot. So, like, how does that work? I mean, you go into schools, you send tours. I mean, I know you tour around the country with various shows that you're responsible for, but how does it work with young people? Do they perform within your performances, or are you just performing to them?
It's sort of all of it, really. I think the thing... one of the reasons why I took on the job was that, I mean, I don't know if you remember, if any form of theatre came into your school, it was likely to be shit. And I remember bits
like
of theatre going...
The road safety thing.
Exactly.
Not dying.
Yeah. Don't die, don't take drugs, sex is bad, like all that shit. And done by... And really sort of quite patronising, really quite shit. And, I know that I was a pretty bad audience member. So I wanted to, when I started with this company, with Theatre Centre, I just want to make really good shows. And in order to do that, I need to work with young people, because I ain't going to write in isolation. So we just work with lots of young people all the time, and artists and teachers and schools. And we sort of work out what is it that needs to be talked about and how do we talk about it. So
that's great.
The current show Birds and Bees that we've got out at the moment, it's like Breakfast Club, essentially. It's about four kids who are in detention, three of them which have been put in there because they sort of spoke out in a school assembly about sexting. We couldn't have made that show if we hadn't spoke to and developed it with young people. Otherwise it would have been that cringy
adult trying to be cool.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I ain't that, and I'm not, I'm not professing to be at all.
And how can you represent somebody if you don't know and don't understand them? Sorry, you don't.
It's exactly it. So the representation stuff is super important for us. And the way I think about it is that I think what theatre can give people is like to be better citizens, better humans. Like the idea of how is it that, to tell a story, to stand up on stage, to all those skills that you have, I think helps you essentially to think about another person, and to think about another person, like that's building your empathy, right? And that's what we need. That's kindness. That's what we need in the world, is that if I can't even imagine what you're thinking, then you and I are never gonna work, right? And I think that's, if you look at the world, that's what we need. We need people to sort of just at least stop and go, I've considered that your point of view, or I can see it through your
just being
eyes.
Decent to each other. That's the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's it.
That's all it is.
Fundamental. I mean, I work with young people. I teach, and that's one of my. That's the key thing for me. I love what I teach. My subject is very important to me, and I hope that comes across to the young people I teach. That I just want them to leave and be decent human beings, because that's the key, isn't it? Not that I'm going to teach them how to do that, but if I can help them along the way, wicked. But yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing what you're doing with Theatre Centre, and it sounds exactly what our young people need, particularly right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. I totally agree. They need to understand, and it's like coming back to the racial things and everything like that that's been going on, and it's like everyone needs to understand to a certain degree, so you can
Empathize with them.
Empathize,
yeah.
You know, because how can you empathize if you don't understand at least a bit of what someone has gone through or what they've had to deal with?
What I think is really good though, and I noticed this with the people, the young people I teach, that they are far more empathetic than I think elders. I think they're probably far more empathetic than we are sometimes. And definitely. I found it fascinating that when the whole what was his name? George Floyd. When that was happening. And I've completely now for Black Lives Matter. When that was happening, the amount of students who were so enraged by it, you know, and students of all colors, sizes, creeds, races, whatever you want to call it, you know, they were just enraged. And the amount of students who were talking to me about it, who, you know, I wouldn't even have put them in that category, because I would have thought, well, they're just interested in their own lives. They're interested in their, you know, their Snapchat and their TikTok and, you know, keeping that streak and stuff. But that, you know, it seriously mattered to them.
But I think it's because of that. Because
that's what I was going to say.
You know, they, you know, for me, as a young person, I was connected with my mates, and that was it. Like, and I knew I got my news from, you know, when it was on at 6 o'clock or Newsround or whatever it was.
They're actually more global, aren't they? They're more globally aware than we ever were.
Young people are connected in ways that we can't even imagine. You know,
they are. Well, that sounds great, and I'm going to try and get some of your stuff in. Hopefully, you come down to Kent, do you? I'll have a chat with our drama teacher. And
definitely. Let's do it. Well, our show, we've just made it free to all state schools. Oh, cool. So there's a whole digital package, and it's just, we've made it completely free because we just thought that, you know, schools and teachers and young people are going through enough rubbish that they don't need to pay for anything. So
it's all right.
Yeah,
we won't dwell on that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how you're doing it. That's
a whole new podcast, isn't it?
I have a lot of respect.
Just like teachers crying.
Yeah, exactly.
So Gavin, your background in music is, I was first sort of turned on to your voice, if I'm honest, mate. You know, as a singer, that tends to be the thing that I listen out for when I'm listening to new music. And I think I have a feeling that through mutual friends, somebody shared a video of the Rufus Black Band, and I just remember being like, "Whoa, this is cool!" Like, it had that real sort of bluesy vibe that I enjoy as well. And then I can't remember what the tune was, but there was a short intro at the beginning. I was enjoying the instrumentation and how it sounded, and this voice just came out, and I just remember sitting back and thinking, "Okay, you know, this is really cool." But tell us a little bit about Rufus Black Band. It's a great band. How did that all come about?
I mean, all my life I've just searched to be a part of a band. I like a unit. You know, I love being a part of a unit. I love community and unit, and everyone doing their job at a high level. So I've kind of put bands together all through my career, trying to find that band. And basically, me and Scott McKeon got together doing a thing with a guy called Pat the Vet, which is I think he called it Downtown Dukes or something like that. I think it was. Where we just got some great musicians together and played. And I met Scott, and he just wanted to start doing something together. We both resonated, and so we tried to start doing some kind of music together. And it just over time, we got better at it, and putting a different band, different units together, different ways of doing it, just making music in pubs and for the fun and the love, you know. And unfortunately, a lot of music today, there's not loads of money in particular areas, so you got to be in it for the love.
Yeah, you know, you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, I've always done that, and we just resonated. And then some other members, we all got together, and Russ and Ben, and it just worked. And the first album was kind of, we were just doing some blues stuff and mucking around a few originals. And then the recent one we did through lockdown, really got together just before lockdown, just for fun. And kind of while the lockdown was going, we just got deeper in it over Zoom and adding extra sections. And I mean, it's not an amazing story. To be honest, it's not like a crazy rock and roll story. But
no, I wasn't expecting that. But what it does seem like is that it's a story that, you know, the conception of this band comes from a place where everybody just loves playing, you know, and how important is that? You know,
authentic music.
Well.
It's authentic music, and just love doing something that's got some depth to it musically and sound. The one thing we've all got in common the most is we love sound. You know, I mean, there's a lot of different artists in this world, and a lot of the industry has become about the entertainment side, you know, and the brand side of selling a product and kind of entertaining a crowd, which is really cool. But we're all in it for the sound, you know, like the sound of a guitar, like you say, like a razor blade down on a cello, you know, we're in it for that. And
that sound is there for me anyway. That sound is there, you know, and I got that vibe as soon as I heard it. I remember being like, yep, I'm turned on to this. Yeah, cool. All right, like, you know, man. Share. And, really
I hope
good.
it resonates with people that like, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and well, I can't see why I wouldn't. But listen, tell us a little bit about your sort of career prior to that. Like, what led you to that point? I mean, did you train? Were you just singing from an early age? What was the haps there?
I got in it for the simple things of sex, drugs, and
sausage rolls.
Paid, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I was there. I was fill in, mate. You know, I enjoyed doing a bit of singing, and I joined this kind of like pub band, I guess it was at the time, and I played a bit of sax at the time, so I played the sax and sang a little bit, and they gave me free beer and some money, you know, and then I got some women, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm in again. And then the money got more, and then people wanted to do more gigs. The love of actual singing kind of came afterwards, really. Right. It was more for the lust of life.
Yeah, wow.
I was in, and it's taken me around the world, man. It's taken me a lot of crazy places and a lot of crazy stories.
Well, that's part of the fun of it, isn't it? Like my motto when I was younger certainly was always saying yes to gigs. You know, even if I didn't know the people, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to go there, because you just never knew where it led to. And I'm so pleased that I have done that, and I still will, you know, because it does, you meet other people and you go crazy places, you do some pretty crazy things. And
it's a beautiful community. It's a beautiful community, and everyone's got everyone's back, you know.
Yeah, and everyone's like-minded. They're all in it for that reason, I think, for the love of it. Even if
you're kind of club,
even if at that moment in time you're playing, I don't know, I'm a Believer in a wedding function or something, you know that original place is one of, I love what I'm doing. You know, I just want to do this. So
man,
they're very cool.
It's a real balance. Yeah,
you've got another. So Rufus Black is a sort of mixture of covers and originals.
I mean, it was. The new album is all originals.
Right.
We came from a cover point of view because they're just tunes we enjoyed, and we thought, well, let's just make some tunes we enjoy and record them in the way we want to do it. And we're all really good at what we do within the studio as well, with our sound and our gear that we got. So we just kind of took all our gear to a village hall, set it up and recorded.
And is that out already, that album, or is it coming out? Or
the first album's out, that's out there. And
I'm sorry, I meant the new one. Is the new one out?
The new one's not out yet. No. I think we released a few songs from it, and I think we've got one more song to come from that, and then we're going to put the album out.
Nice. Well, make sure you share it with us. You know, we'll promote and do whatever we can to help share it as well, because no doubt from what we've heard already, or what I've heard already, I'm sure it'll be absolute kick-ass, mate. So you're gonna well, the good thing and not so good thing about these Zoom sessions is that I can extend the reach of people that I talk to, but it means we don't have in the studio live performances. But Gavin, you've actually already shared, incredibly efficient. I normally get it afterwards, so thank you. You've already shared a couple of tunes that we're gonna play throughout the podcast today. So this first one was you co-wrote with Scott, is that right?
This is Scott McKeon's album that's coming out. This is his first single. It's a guitar album, you know, but wanted to put a few textures on it, and this song just ended up getting made. We just wrote it in the studio on the day with some killer. I mean, these musicians are some of the most amazing musicians the UK's got to offer. It's really a high level, a high standard.
I'm grateful that you've shared it with us, and I'm very much looking forward to everyone out there listening to the podcast having a listen as well, because you sent it quite so early. I got a chance to listen to beforehand, which is not normally the case, and it's right up there with the sorts of things that I'm into at the moment. But who would you say that Scott's influenced by?
Well, definitely Stevie Ray Vaughan. Ray Vaughan? It's Ray Vaughan, isn't it? Yeah. I always get it mixed up. Definitely Jimmy. Mm-hmm. I mean, just
Just all those legends.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
You know, the Birds. I mean, all of those kind of old blues. B.B. King.
Yeah, and you'll hear it in his playing. This is the tune "Third Eye Witness."
Third Eye Witness. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, listen. I'll let you do the introducing because I haven't quite fathomed out his surname yet, and you do it so much better than I do. So, Gavin, what are you going to play for us first of all, mate?
We're going to play Third Eye Witness.
Is always easy, never on your mind. Ready for the breeze under your eye. Hold back a song I'll leave anyway the sound. Workload is saying yes, I'm
I was
Okay.
just thinking there. I was having a conversation with a writer yesterday about like what is masculinity and men and the idea of shape and all of that.
Shit, that's a deep fucking question, man.
I'll tell you what, not to pause the conversation, but we're going to start here. Is that cool with you
Great.
guys? Yeah,
Yeah.
we've just had an amazing song. I don't want to discredit that, but let's go along that, Rob. Let's keep going there. We're back in. We've had that third eyewitness. Not to be sarcastic, but let's crack on. Come on, Rob.
Sure.
Let's start where you're going. Talk to me about that.
Well, I was talking to a writer yesterday about masculinity and about what is a man, what is, you know, and it was such a fascinating conversation because, like, I didn't know. They asked me quite quickly what is masculinity, and I couldn't really answer. Like, I don't know, like, what is masculinity, right? But what we spoke about was about the idea of what a shape a man should be, looks like. And I was really interested about what for you, Tom, your journey. And I have this as well about the idea of what I'm meant to look like. Now I'm a gay man, and there's something about being a gay man that there is a very particular, like, I get images of what you're meant to look like. You're meant to be ripped, or you're meant to be muscular, all those things. And I think there's something, I just think there's a huge pressure that men don't talk about the idea of what you're meant to look like.
Yeah.
And I was saying right early on that I got bullied at school because I was skinny, and then I sort of, and now that I'm getting bigger, it affects me. I've been talking a lot about why is it affecting me? Why do I feel bad that I'm heavier than I'm the heaviest that I ever am now? And does it even matter? And it obviously does to me, but I'm trying to sort of work out what that is about. And obviously for women, there's a huge sort of, there's industries based around the way that women are meant to look and sound and be and all the shapes. But I think for men now, it's exactly the same. We just don't talk about it in the same way.
No, I don't. It's kind of where the podcast originated from, was the fact that men don't talk about any of this sort of shit.
But who's to say who's meant to look like what?
Yeah,
completely.
Who the fuck is saying this? You know what I mean? Who the fuck? Consumer.
Yeah, well, that's completely.
That is all it is. You know, I mean, it's like when it comes down to meat. Yeah, we come to meat, right? And the masculinity, the barbecue, the man. You know, right? Where the fuck did that come from? That came from meat companies wanting to sell meat. That's where it came from. So they portrayed this male, masculine man making meat in the garden. You know, that's
it's the same as the Marlboro man, though, isn't it? You know, it's the same as that guy, that Marlboro, was it the cowboy? You know, and all of those things.
Money, it's gross and money. That is it.
But if you go back in further, though, if you look at, it's like how history is taught. You look at all the sculptures that, if you go into like a British Museum or something, you look at all the sculptures, like, what do those men look like? What you don't get is, you don't get men who are not chiseled and ridiculous. And there would have been loads of men like that, but they are not represented. Yeah. So the representation of what you see, what advertisement companies put out, the magazines that we read, all of that stuff, it's exactly the same, as that it's just not representative.
I think for me though, unless I'm just ignorant to it, and I do think what I've learned about myself is that there's definitely a part of my brain that can just ignore. I like to believe anyway, but I don't feel like there's anything. I hope anyway.
like the IT crowd. Do you ever see that one? Puke. Oh, I'm not affected by that shit. You know,
but like I can usually switch off to things. I feel like I can usually get through it. But there are some things that I just can't, and one of them is the sort of weight loss thing for me. But I don't. I don't really read magazines. I don't remember ever. Maybe it's just a subconscious thing, but I think it is. It must be.
All placed in there. It should be made illegal wherever you go. Sounds, pictures, lights are all deep. Like, it's all penetrating into the back of your mind. So eventually, it just becomes a part of your own thought,
and you don't even know it's happening.
And you don't even know it's there, because it's deep psychological.
Well, there was
psychological kind of penetration of the mind.
Advertising, isn't it? I mean, I don't remember when it was, but there's many years ago, in the middle of the Super Bowl, there was an advert. I think it was for Coca-Cola. And this is something that I remember being taught about the hypodermic needle theory, about the idea of ideas being injected into you. We're getting really media-based today. New media podcast. And this advert was right in the middle of the Super Bowl, in the middle of obviously a few other adverts, but it wasn't any length at all. It was literally just a flash of this logo. I think it was Coca-Cola, and like studies had shown that it hit, like they did this research afterwards, after this advert, after the Super Bowl, and like, how many of you felt the need to go and have a Coca-Cola? And it was like through the roof.
Well,
just that injection of an idea.
So I went and saw a Darren Brown show years ago, before Darren Brown became big, and he showed us. He was talking about exactly the same thing. These subliminal messages that they can put in a frame. It's illegal now to do the similar thing, but he said that he couldn't show this on TV, and he showed us a film, and he said that there will be images in there that you will not aware of, but your brain will pick up.
Yeah.
And 4 of you will get up from your seats, and you will come and arrive on the stage with me. You don't know how and you don't know why, but this film will do that. I was like, okay, whatever. Starts the film. I can't remember any of the film, but I do remember shaking his hand on stage. And me and 3 other people were stood on stage, and it was the weirdest feeling, because and he knew exactly which seat I was sitting on, because he had programmed all of that in. And he revealed that at the end, but there was nothing in this film that said, you on that seat, stand up. And he was just showing the power that people can have on you.
The power of the mind as well, though, to pick up on that. Yeah. And that subconscious and the unconscious. I think it would be really cool to get you guys in on a podcast with Elliot one day, because Elliot's a guy I keep on referring to, or was referring to in the break, whilst we listened to your tune, Gavin. He's deep into all this stuff. It'd be wicked to get you guys in with him as well, and just to have a chat. It'd be fascinating to do that. So I think
it's all real, man. It's all real, and it's like people say conspiracies and all this kind of shit, but it's deep. It's years of deep training of learning how to manipulate the human mind. You can't manipulate someone physically, so why the fuck are you allowed to manipulate them mentally and control another human being by the mind? Why is that allowed?
But I think for me, there's something about, it goes back to that, the story that we tell ourselves individually, the story we tell ourselves, that we are either good enough or not, that we are talented or we are not. And people very early on realize that they can manipulate that story, right? Yeah. Is that we're not healthy enough, that we're not thin enough, that we're not man enough, that we're not whatever those things are. And so we then therefore buy the thing that helps us become the thing that we should be.
Yeah, we want to be.
We want to be
bastards, isn't they, man? It really roused me up, that shit, because it's like you should have your own opinion, your own choice, and it's like there is no right or wrong, there is no up or down. It's like if you're healthy, great, brilliant, be healthy, feel good mentally, feel good internally, feel good.
That is being healthy.
Gavin, completely, and I can see, Gavin, why you want a house in the middle of nowhere. Now I can see why that you want to be off the grid. I
want to choose what goes into my head, what goes into my body, and I don't want it to be from some factory and some added chemicals. I don't want it to be.
But you can also see how Trump did exactly the same thing. You can see that how someone can incite a way of thinking, a being, a movement, a riot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. It was just all of that. Completely.
Just to return it back to sort of the weight loss thing for a minute, like in terms of for me, like, and I'm linking it to everything that I'm being told regularly about myself, is that, like you've just said, Gavin, the whole idea of being healthy, I might be a big guy, but I exercise twice a week, and good exercise twice a week. I eat well most of the time. I might have a packet of Maltesers in a minute. I might not. But I don't know whether it's that I'm conditioned to virtually punch myself in the face every time I do that and feel bad about it afterwards. But, I for some reason, I'm currently programmed, if you like, to ignore the good things. And, I've mentioned it in a couple of podcasts ago, where in one of my Slimming World groups, and I've found that really useful. It works for some people and it doesn't for others. But for me, it's just that community and that support, which has been incredible. And the lady, the running that, just said, well, what's your non-scale victories? I'd put a pound on, or £2. And that actually, when I now say that to you two, £2 is nothing, and a friend of mine said, well, I've had shits that are bigger than £2, so, it's quite, that could be
we brought it back there again, Tom. We brought it back down to
it
shit.
is, it's that runny theme that we keep going to. But somewhere I just need, that's what I'm trying to achieve for myself, is just to reprogram, if you like, that sort of that idea of stop freaking out. My other PT, May, she basically, at the end of one of my sessions where I've been a bit like, I got through the session, I did what I needed to do, I did enjoy it, but I was a bit unhappy that day about food and all my weight loss and it not going to plan, just moping. And she just said, just stop being a dickhead, just, that's it, just crack on. Everything you're doing is right. And Elliot said, look, you got to see, don't think of that end goal, just learn to love what you're doing at the minute. And I thought that was so profound for me. And again, like I said to you, Rob, it's exactly what I needed to hear. Like, don't worry about the fact that apparently, according to the BMI website, I need to be 12 stone. That's never going to happen, by the way. Not because I'm being defiant. I just can't see how it could. Just don't think about that. Just think about the fact that you are enjoying doing what you're doing. You're eating healthily, and you might have a Kinder Bueno one day, whatever. So it's.
You trying to get advertisement on this podcast, there, Tom? Was that?
Fancy something nice and
I don't know.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What would that be?
I didn't say
man?
anything at all. It was all a figment of your imagination. See, I'm part of the problem. I'm actually part of the system. You just don't know it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's I think you just got to focus on the moment, mate. Not worry about tomorrow or yesterday. Just now. It's hard enough. This moment right now is hard enough.
Absolutely, and I'm learning that. But and that's the advice I would give others, and that's certainly the advice I'd give the young people I teach. And I just almost need to practice what I preach a little bit, and I know that. I just don't hear it sometimes, but I'm learning, and that's what it's all about for me. So, I'm curious. I mean, we spoke about what's happening at the moment, and hopefully there's sort of some light at the end of the tunnel with the year that we've had. And I think it goes without saying that it's been a pretty rough year for the industry that we're all in. But it is interesting to know and to sort of learn how people have coped, how they've adapted, and how they've changed to deal with it. So, I mean, like Rob, in our little break in between when we were sort of listening to your tune, we were talking about the fact you've not been to your office for a year. You've not done that sort of part of your life is almost on hold. So for you, how's it sort of been? You're working from home. How was that for you initially? Like, were you able to actually work as efficiently as you normally would? Did you find it tricky?
I mean, I've been ticky. I mean, I was for many years I was a freelancer, so I was going from project to project. So I sort of, the idea of working from home actually was fine. I think that the fact is that my job is really social. I'm usually in rooms with people making stuff, right? And so that then became really weird. And this, as much as Zoom brings lots of people together quickly, it's just, we know it's just not the same experience. No. We're literally boxed in. There's a barrier to that. And actually it affects me quite badly. I got really bad anxiety. It sort of became very, I got quite nervous about things, not being able to sort of connect with people. So even now, even when I was out with my neighbors and stuff, it's quite nerve-wracking about how I talk to people, which is something that just comes to me naturally, right? With the job that I do. But at that point it became complicated. So I think there's and I'm a lot better now because I've sort of gone through processes to sort of understand it and work out what that anxiety is about. But I think it's complicated. And I'm quite efficient now on emails and on all the working on my computer and stuff. But I'm sat down. Like the idea of sitting down 7 hours in a day. It's bloody awful. It really is. And so I've started cycling. I've got myself a spin bike. I've got 2 dogs, so walk them a lot. Nice. And just, but the moment of getting to that moment, like the idea of getting on the bike, the idea of taking the dog for a walk, sometimes can be the biggest
The
bloody
biggest hurdle.
barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
A whole nother way. Yeah, that's another war.
I think
isn't it?
that's one of the, like, I know I've said this before, but one of the small and possibly only, well, not only, but there are a minute amount of things that are good that have come from this whole experience. And I love the fact that there are more people out walking, there are more people out being active. And I think that, maybe hopefully nationally, that will be something that is retained. I know certainly for myself in that first lockdown, we had to get out of the house. My wife and I and my boys we'd just walk. We're very fortunate. We live in a beautiful area and we had some lovely walks, and the boys love being outside. So it just worked for us. And the weather was wicked.
Completely. I was talking to a mate of mine who organises park runs, and he was saying exactly the same thing, which is they're going to have so many more members when they go back, because there's loads of people now that have taken up running. I mean, I started running. It's just not the sport for me. It's not the thing for me.
Really. Yeah, and you get somewhere and then you got to run back, and it's
exactly.
It's like, nah, man.
I've done a lot of walking.
Nah.
Yeah, walking's good. I love walking.
Yeah,
great.
I was tempted with the Couch to 5K app. I downloaded it. That's how far I got, and I selected.
Well, that's what I was using.
Yeah. Oh, right. I selected the American guy as my guide, whatever his name is. I've forgotten it. Michael something or other. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And then I sort of thought, well, actually, this is not wise. I've always been, I've always hated running. But then I thought, well, I'm a big guy running on my ankles, which are a little bit weak anyway. It's going to bugger up my knees. What's the point? So my thing was walking loads. And a friend of mine, my friend and I, he was the one that inspired me to do a lot of walking. So Billy was just walking. Like, he was furloughed. He was just walking just to keep his mind off of this, the shitness of it all at the moment or at that time. And he inspired me to just get out and walk. And consequently, we did a thing for charity in January. We walked between us. We walked 500 miles for War Child, and that was something I never ever thought I'd do. So, and I'm absolutely gagging to get out it's so weird. I want to go for a walk. I want to go out and walk 4 or 5 miles, but this week has not been kind to me in terms of time. But yeah, that's been brilliant for me.
But I think there's, I think the link between mental health, physical health, I think is huge. And I think there's a lot of the conversations we're having with young people at the moment, there's going to be this new epidemic of mental health, bad mental health for young people especially, and loads of the population because of this. And we just don't know how it's going to sort of occur. But I think that the idea of exercise or walking, or like the body is connected to the mind, right? You move your body and your mind to work. Your mind works. So absolutely. I think there needs to be loads of money pumped into sporting activities and
I hope that is the case. I really do hope that, because one of the biggest challenges will be identifying those who need that additional help. And I just hope that there's that time and effort is put aside for young people and for anybody really that needs it. Because let's face it, it's not. Of course, it's going to be harder on youngsters. But it's not been easy for anybody. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And, the main thing is, get out, move, do something. That's key. And you can do that for free, can't you? You can do it off your own back.
Exactly.
Pick up an instrument, have a song, go and create. The hope is there that it will turn people on to the fact that our industries, theatre, dance, drama, music, all of those things are so insanely good for helping mental health as well.
Man.
So
I think there's there's a little revolution kicking up, the eco revolution, and people heading towards health and health of their mind.
Well, they're more conscious of it, aren't they?
Conscious. People are being conscious, and it's like that is the key.
Yeah.
You look at all gurus and all wisdom. Anyone that's written a frigging self-help book, it's all about being conscious. And I think that's something the young generation seem to be a lot more conscious, And
I think that'll be more prominent if they can have because they've got to get through the sort of, they've got a lot of thorns and thistles to get through at the moment. There's that barrier, so they need help getting through that, clearing the path, and then they're back on it. And as you say, like, hopefully it will really push me in the right direction with creativity in general. Gavin, what about you? So, like, session singer, performer, musician, gigging loads, and then boom, closing all the pubs, closing all the venues. No,
I mean, I quite liked it, to be honest. At the beginning, I really liked it. I thought it was lovely because I like silence and not moving. You know, I like wandering around doing nothing. It's one of my favorite pastimes. Just wander.
Was your daughter born this year? Like, you say she's 4 months?
Yeah. So she was born in lockdown. Yeah.
Wow. How was that? I mean, I know not that you knew any different, I suppose, because it's your first child, isn't it? But
yeah. I mean, it's obviously work, finance. It's eating all our money up and all our savings for. So we got to kind of regroup on that side, and having a newborn has been beautiful. It's been absolutely amazing, tiring as every parent knows, and demanding. But we caught COVID, we caught it,
the vid
from, I believe, possibly hospital, from one of the checkups or something. It was going on. It's the only real place we can put it back to,
right?
Because we're pretty good with all that. But it absolutely devoured us. It devoured the whole family. You know, it devoured me. I couldn't. This was Christmas time, so I spent Christmas on my own.
Oh, and I called you. I think I phoned you just after you got better, didn't I? You'd started to come around for it. Yeah,
man. I mean, it lasted forever. It was like I think it was like 30 days we ended up doing in isolation. Wow. It just lasted so long. And I had it. Jess had it. Ava had it. She had like a rash all over her body. So it was all completely out. And then my mum caught it as well. And, you know, it's in the hospital. She ended up with blood clots.
Oh, God.
And, you know, oxygen levels were low. You know, it really took us. And that coupled with no finance coming in and just being absolutely wiped, it's then started to attack the mind, you know, and it kind of just attacked everything. And it took a while even to be able to just understand. It attacked us mentally, not just with an illness like a flu-like illness. It was like I could not work out how to use logic anymore. You know, I mean, as in the DAO, as in like the creative software. You know, to produce and that. I couldn't remember anything or figure out how. It was like I'd lost something.
Cognitive.
It's come back now, but there was a big period where mentally I just couldn't make sense. You know, and I felt anxious. I felt even more depressed, and it heightened everything, and not just in a physical but in a mental. It's like, I don't know if people are talking about that side as much as it is creating, and apparently these are all things of COVID as well.
Right. Well, there's the long COVID thing that people are talking about more and more now, aren't they, where you know the well, not the side effects but the impact of having it, you know, just knocking people for six for a very, very long time. And Jane, my wife, just before not just before I left, but just as we were eating lunch earlier, for some reason brought up oh great, talking about, and it came from nowhere, we were eating cheese and toast.
Just before my stroll into the living room.
But she was saying that you know, she'd been reading that, you know, the importance of rest if you have COVID, because it, you know, it just the impact on the brain, as well as, you know, all the other, you know, physical things that it does to you. But, you know, the fatigue levels alone, you know, are just a whole new level that, you know, nobody's ever used to. So
absolutely beyond it all. And
I'm pleased you're all through it, mate. I'm pleased.
Pretty much. There's still little bits left. There's still lingering symptoms here and there.
Has it affected your voice at all?
I don't believe so. But I mean, I haven't, you know, I sing in the studio for stuff, but you know, you can't be going out doing a gig every night and singing for a couple of hours, dancing. You know, I believe my voice is definitely going to need some conditioning before getting back into it, because I think I'm not as strong vocally as I was.
I think that's something that a lot of, well, I mean, I know I've got in touch with my vocal coach and I've said, I need to be match fit. You know, I've got, you know, if all goes to plan, I've got gigs, you know, and so I think I was trying to sing in the car the other day and just felt just tight, you know, and I know I'm not warmed up or anything, but I just thought this is not cool. You know, my last gig was back in October, and so, you know, that's still a long time ago.
It's like what you were saying, Tom, about going to the gym, right? So if you don't go to the gym for a year, then you're going to be weaker.
You're rusty, and I really felt that. Normally, like, I just sort of I've never noticed that quite so prominently in my voice anyway. I've had a couple of vocal operations, so I think I'm very conscious about good vocal health for me, and you know, generally I'm an advocate for good vocal health. So booked it in. I'll go and get myself a little vocal massage as well. And
Nice.
have you had one of those, Gavin?
Nah.
What on
Weirdest-
earth is it?
Yeah,
What is
weirdest. You can have. There are two things that I've tried. A vocal massage was incredible.
And what was the second one, Tom?
Well, basically, they get a whole tube of butter, and and then
It involved a little bit of lube.
and then I was on stage with Darren Brown. I
Swan.
don't know, like they just sent me on- but the other, I had vocal osteopathy as well, which is just that was a whole new level of weird for me. But the vocal massage stuff, if like Gavin, if you're feeling vocally fatigued or anything like that, it's seriously good. It's so good. Yeah, and like, if you ever
Nice,
wanted, I'll pass the number on. But yeah, but it's so like it feels so invasive, but also quite nice. It's just a bit of an odd thing, but yeah.
I'll give it a go, man. I'm up for
Yeah,
giving anything.
I'll sort you out a number. She's very good. So look, you've had to adapt, Gavin. Obviously, what were you doing to sort of bring in the finances? Because I mean, obviously for Rob, Rob, you had projects still on the go and things that you could conceivably do, couldn't you? Or did it all go on hold for you?
Oh no, I mean, I was so lucky, and I think that 6 weeks before pandemic, I got this full-time job, and I've been a freelancer previous. So I didn't know how lucky I was, got the job. And then the thing that I absolutely, when pandemic hit, the thing that the exec director, Emma, and I dedicated ourselves to do was to employ as many people as we could. Because they're, the amount of artists who have not been paid, the amount of artists, and it shows, isn't it, that our industry's built up on freelancers. And all the money was in venues and buildings and like places. So we just wanted to employ as many people as we could. So I was super lucky. So we had loads of projects on. I still made work, but we wanted to be as useful as we could. So I'm hoping that lots of artists have got money in their pockets because of us.
Good, well done.
Very nice.
What about you, Gavin? What were you doing to sort of make ends meet, dude?
I mean, to begin with, we've had just a few sessions coming in, do a lot of kind of jingles and library music writing. So I basically survived with a bit of PRS coming through, government, and a few little sessions coming in here and there. And then I just for safety, I went and became an electrician.
So have you trained during lockdown?
Yeah, so I'm a domestic electrician now, so I can go and earn some extra cash pretty easily here and there. So it was like a safety net,
Yeah.
I got to have something.
It's great.
Just in case there's nothing else comes in. And then I trained I'm into these things called earth ships. I don't know if you've heard of them at all. They're just kind of building from anything recycled really. Like the walls are made out of tires, compounded mud, and so I also trained in building those. It's like natural building. And then I'm doing a permaculture course as well.
Wow, cool.
Amazing.
It's kind of, I've just gone everywhere, and taking little jobs here and there. It's
many
like,
pies.
Basically, it's like loads of little safety nets going on, and it's worked out. But to begin with, we say we kind of went through our savings. Really.
Yeah. Very fortunate. I remember, like, I still feel lucky that I trained to teach. But I remember for a period of time feeling really guilty because, of course, a great deal of my mates are musicians and are creatives, and like it went from them being, doing really well and earning and everything being cool, and then suddenly looking really bleak. And I remember feeling, not that it's about me, I don't mean that, but I felt so guilty. And it was my dad that, I remember saying it to my dad, like I was like, oh man, like I feel really guilty because like I'm earning, like I've got a job, and like a lot of my mates haven't. And he was like, well, yeah, but the sacrifices you made to train, when they were doing those things, he said that's just what you chose to do. So yeah, but I still feel incredibly lucky to be doing that. And it's been very, very tough, but ultimately at the end of the day, I have had something that cognitively has kept me active, and I hope that in some way I've managed to help some kids out here and there as well.
I mean,
so,
I can't even imagine what you and the rest of the teachers in this country are like going through. I think that's like one of the most important jobs, from doctors to carers to frontline staff. Teachers, I think, should be classed as frontline staff because I've had I'm in contact with lots of teachers and head teachers, and the the strength I think that you have had to sort of adapt and move and shift has been amazing. And I hold my hands up and take my hat off and all that stuff to you. I think you're amazing. I don't know why government haven't given you vaccines yet, and they're playing with you, unfortunately, but I think you do.
It's kind of backwards, really, isn't it? I mean, that is, you're hitting on one of the biggest problems within our society. Teachers aren't treated rightly. Yeah. Education is not really looked at as important, in the sense that the educators aren't looked after. Because I mean, you're putting your children, especially now I've had a child, it's even more affecting me. You're putting your child into these people's hands. They should be treated like fucking gods, man, because they're going to educate the next generation. They are the people that are going to change, what comes next, the education of the new generation. These people need to learn and understand as fast as possible, and they need the best. And the only way they can get the best is if the teachers are treated rightly, and they get treated like superheroes, because they're passing the knowledge. They are giving them the manners, the education, and it's just not looked at in that way. It's like it just blows me away. I tell you how they're not looked after in that kind of way.
Completely agree. I think a lot of parents.
Sorry, guys.
You'll
have to bear with me just for a moment. Everything's just gone weird for me here.
There we go. That was throwing me, mate.
I'm so sorry.
Saw the panic on your face. I was like,
shit.
Do I continue?
You did really well. I could see that you were still going. Can you hear me? Okay?
I need to bump it up. Yes or no? Bring it down. What's he saying to me, man?
Yeah, you guys can hear me now, can you?
Yeah.
We can.
All right. So I lost everything, all sound, and I could just see you guys going and making faces at me. I'll catch up with what you said, but I heard superheroes, and I was privy to what you said at the beginning, Rob. And all I will say is that what I love about teaching is the young kids young people I get to teach. But also, as you said, Rob, I work with some incredible people. I don't think they listen to my podcast, but if they do, my department are just incredible. They're so versatile, they're so resilient, and like you said, the way that everybody I'm fortunate to work with has adapted is just incredible, and I don't feel like I've been a pioneer in any of it at all. There are people who are way higher than me in the whole school, but what the creative department I work with have had to do to try to keep people going is, they're brilliant. And like you say, teachers, I'm not saying this because I want the praise, that's the last thing I want, but the teachers are incredible that I work with.
I think that I was saying that parents, I think, have really understood that a little bit more now, unfortunately, after a year of in and out of homeschooling and having to understand what to do and what that takes, and the energy of that and the preparation of that and all of those things. And of course, those parents are probably doing other jobs as well.
Yeah, man.
And so that it's there, but I think there's a deep appreciation maybe now that for the work that teachers do, because we've gone through this. I just hope that there is change because of that.
I hope so too. I hope so. But we can only do what we can do, and we'll keep plodding on. And according to one newspaper, whose name I will not say, we are militant teachers. Up
they can screw off.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I want to kind of wrap things up. Sort of now, and I say I want to. I kind of don't, because this has been what I love about doing these podcasts is the conversation just flows, and that's testament in the fact that we've been chatting for so long. But before we go, I want Gavin to just talk about the Condors, which is another original project of yours. But in case I forget, I want to say thank you both so much for taking the time to chat. It has been
cheers, mate.
Brilliant. It's been absolutely awesome, and it's, as I said already, it just felt really natural and felt exactly like we're sitting around the table having a beer, or whatever we're having. So thank you both very much for taking the time to come and chat on the podcast with me. But before we sort of wrap up, Gavin, tell us a little bit about the Condors, because I know, again, this is something I've seen that you and your wife is a formidable singer as well. It's fair to say. And this is something that you and your wife work on together.
Yeah. I mean, we just started singing together and it worked and blended really well, so we started to write some tunes. I mean, we've written together for ages for different things, projects, library music, and then we just thought we'd start making our own tunes, and had the access to great musicians, and
And the rest
started
is
to write about the relationship, really.
Yeah.
It's a great way of voicing it and dealing with kind of
any issues that crop up.
Well, yeah, because working with your wife it's hard.
Yeah.
When you work with a collaborator, you collaborate with someone. It's strange, isn't it? You go in a room with a stranger and you collaborate. You've got that level of kind of respect that you don't go past. You adjust, you move, and you go, okay, great. But with your wife, you're like, fuck off. It's like, nah. Before you know it, you've done like 4 or 5 chords. You had a fucking argument, and like you've left. You know what I mean? And then like a month later, you come back and finish the song, and it's like, okay,
punch bags on fire.
Yeah, the punch bag's ruined, mate.
You got that on subscription, haven't you, from Amazon? You literally like monthly subscription.
Yeah, they just keep coming. Yeah, well, it really helps you deal with a lot of kind of issues within your relationship. It's a bit like therapy. See, there's nothing my wife doesn't know about me, and there's nothing I don't know about my wife, and she tells me it's really open. And
well, that's the partnership, isn't it?
Yeah, and we've been together 17 years now, so it's amazing. Like it's really, it takes you to the limits.
Yeah. Oh well, listen, and I think we are about to hear that quite amazingly. I text you. I mean, Gavin, as I said at the beginning, sent these tunes over, so I had to listen to them, and genuinely, and without doing the whole usual sort of lovey music industry, oh my god, it's brilliant, because I hate that, but this tune absolutely blew me away. Tell us a little bit about, it's called Glorious by the Condors. Just tell us a little bit about it, mate.
So I get a lot of depression here and there, not so much nowadays, because I'm working a lot on that with all the stuff we've been talking about, exercise and all that, but it's basically about Jess kind of saying to me that it's all right, in the dark times, and when you go there, just saying it's kind of like a lift me up to me, really. So I thought it was kind of appropriate for these talks. I
think it's incredibly appropriate, and I hear that in the lyrics. So thank you very much for sharing it with us, and hopefully everyone out there listens to it and enjoys it as well. Rob Watt, Theatre Centre. How can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about what you guys do?
Our website is theatre-centre.co.uk. That's probably the easiest way of getting in touch with us. We're on socials and all that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today, Rob. I very much appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.
And Gavin, what about you with your various projects? How can people get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing?
I guess the Condors. The Condors on all your socials, add the extra bit for whatever it is. And Rufus Black. I know there is a Spotify thing of me, but I only signed up the other day because I'm not particularly great on those kind of social sides. But yeah, just type in the Condors.
Just find them.
Black,
yeah.
Scott McKeon.
Cool. And we'll put it in our little profile-y bit on the podcast as well.
Yeah, wicked.
Okay. Gavin, thank you both. Well, Gavin, thank you very much. And thank you both very, very much as well for sharing your stories and your chat with us today. We're going to wrap the podcast up with Glorious by the Condors. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Thank you both very much. There we go. Woohoo!
Nice one.
Now the darkness is reeling you in. Come on now, don't you start this Do